Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the Cheesehead TV social channels. It's Tuesday, Players' Day off. Coach is working on game plans. We here at Cheesehead TV talking to Packers fans worldwide. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Hope you're all doing well. Good to see everyone already mixing it up in the comments section. I will say I found it funny coming in. The title of this video is Jordan Rorschach Test Love, meaning it really depends on who's looking and what they see individually when it comes to Jordan Love's progress, and if you think he's making any, and what the team might be thinking while deciding whether to commit to him long term, which is something they're probably going to be talking about throughout the rest of this season and probably into the offseason. Can't imagine they want to go into 2024 with Jordan on his final year of the contract extension he signed last offseason in lieu of the fifth-year option. But I do think Jordan's people will undoubtedly, maybe not drive a hard bargain, but will be in no rush. I mean, I think they want Jordan to be able to, put as much kind of tape on his resume, so to speak, as possible, and in a better situation, which you got to think he will be in 2024, when the Packers are able to have another draft, probably bring in a piece or two in free agency. I don't think they're going to go hog wild, but they'll undoubtedly inject a little bit of talent. And I think, if you're Jordan's representatives, you're sitting there going, okay, well, we understand his numbers aren't great because they're not. I understand that there are certainly areas of his game that you would like to see improved. But you can also turn around and, as Donald Driver pointed out, say, well, look who he's working with. And these are a lot of young people all kind of learning to work together. And it does seem like they are headed in the right direction, especially his last two games. And it's just funny to me to watch kind of the reactions to Jordan Love in general, but certainly from the fan base. Obviously what we think on the outside doesn't matter a whole lot. And there's no doubt that Brian Gutekunst is going to give them every opportunity to grow together and work together on offense. But I tell you what, if they don't start winning some games, if they are languishing towards the top 5 of the draft, which is a distinct possibility at this point, man, all bets are off as far as if they're committing to Jordan long term rather than drafting a quarterback. And that doesn't mean I don't think that's what's going to happen, but you can't dismiss the possibility. And again, it depends on what you see when you look at Jordan. And there are a lot of different ways you can look at it. You can look at the guy who, like I said, has definitely improved and has seemingly started to grow with the young collection of talent around him. You can also see some of the off-target throws, some of the inconsistencies. And it's funny, too, because then I do get a lot of people talking about how, we talked about it on the radio this morning, towards the end of that game, you get that final play, and there's a section of the fan base that's hoping it'll happen, and here we go, maybe this will be Jordan's moment. And then there's another section of the fan base going, there's no way. There's no way they're scoring a touchdown here. They are going to lose. It's been that script all year, and again, it was on Sunday. But I do feel like in that particular aspect of the game, Jordan's kind of been put in the Kobayashi Maru from Star Trek, where, it's designed for him to fail. And obviously that's not like how it's designed as far as, yes, he's got a chance to win these games, but man, he's been put up against it in a big way. And I think the one game you can probably look at and go, he probably missed it there, was the Raiders game at the end where Watson is breaking open early, and if he just stands in there and delivers it, probably that's a touchdown pass and they win the game. But outside of that, I mean, these are really, really tough situations. I mean, look no further than Sunday where, those the whole defense essentially is lined up on the goal line. Good luck, And I've seen people talk about other reads and other types of throws, like throw a jump ball or all of this, and man, regardless of how you want to attack that scenario, it is almost a Kobayashi Maru. It is almost impossible. And, the fact that he didn't have his big wow comeback moment, I doesn't bother me because of everything I just said. But I know some people kill him for it. And I know some people are, desperate to see magic and something that makes you jump out of your chair. And I think Jordan's had a number of throws that have been great, and a few even that have. There was one to Reed to set up that moment. It was pretty kind of okay, but there hasn't been, to my eyes, that moment that makes you jump out of your seat and go, holy cow, and what an amazing play, you know? And I think if you're looking for that, and I have no idea if that's what Brian's waiting for, but if you on the outside are looking for that, you certainly, understandably, are going, this guy is not the guy. Now, I don't think you need that. I think you can win without it, but it's just an interesting study in point of view and perspective and what you're looking for and what you think you need. We'll see how these next handful of games play out. I'm fascinated to see how this offense continues to grow and hopefully continues to be more efficient, score more points, and hey, who knows, maybe pull out a win or two. But yeah, it's just fun to watch. I mean, fun in quotes. It is fun at times, but it's also, people get very aggressive and very personal about these things, and I think that's entirely unnecessary. But I am having fun watching Jordan continue to grow, and I do think Sunday in Pittsburgh was his finest performance yet, and hopefully he keeps building on that. But we'll see. That's why we watch on Sundays, isn't it? I will say I loved the comments at the beginning of the video asking people saying what they see. Soder saying he sees a beautiful butterfly, which is nice. Corey Kren saying I see dark days coming. Ooh boy. Derek saying love will find a way. Dennis saying I see a bright future, but not necessarily for the Packers. Ooh And that is entirely possible, right? I could see them moving on from Jordan and him having success elsewhere. That's entirely possible as well. We shall see. Mimsy starting us off with a super chat. What's up? Coach should cut back on the podium dip, wildy rage. I don't look, man. There's been so much made of Matt and his appearance, his availability yesterday. I loved it. Look, he's up there each and every day, throughout the week, after the game, day after the game. He's, presented with lots of coverage of the team by the PR group. He knows what's being said about his team. He knows what's being said about him. And, I think for the most part, Matt's been really good understanding that that's part of the gig. And, I think he thinks most of it is fair. But I think yesterday he took an opportunity to correct a misperception. And look, you can talk about semantics and how he's changing the conversation and all that. And that's all true, right? But hey, I thought he was pretty well composed when he did it. It's not like he was Mike McCarthy snapping at somebody. It's not like he was when Mike would, "Do you hear that answer I just gave to your question?" Stuff, during the Kaepernick stuff. So, no, I loved it. I thought it was, I said on Twitter, I want to see more combative LaFleur. But hey, again, this is kind of a perception thing too that we're talking about with Love. Right? I've seen people say, well, this is the sign that it's starting to crack, and I don't think that's it, but I get why people might perceive it that way. No, I loved it. And look, I'm going to give him unholy hell about it for the rest of his time in Green Bay because it means that Corey Behnke is never going to stop giving me shit. Because Corey's called Rashawn Gary a defensive lineman basically since he was drafted. And I always say, you mean outside linebacker? And now Corey's never going to let me live this down. Corey's never going to let me hear the end of it. And I blame Matt. So, good times. Matthew, what's up, man? Always said we got to lose 6 to finish 11-6. Go Pack, go. Matthew's still on it. I love it. Keep it up, Matt. Matt's going to be here it's going to be December. I always said go 3-14 or 3-12 or whatever. You got to lose 12 games. I can't wait. Thomas, what's up? I missed you on Carry the G Radio today. Can't wait for next week when it's back. Do you think the cap situation is stopping Green Bay from giving Jordan Love his extension now? Okay, 2 parts. I'll take the second part first. No, there's nothing cap-wise. If they wanted to give him an extension, they'd make it work, and they'd be able to. So that's not what's holding it up. As for Carry the G Radio, we'll be back tomorrow. We weren't on the air today because of the event that 97.3 and the Packers had in Appleton. They had a Toys for Tots drive. The entirety, basically, of the crew from the game was in Appleton for that event, including Billy, my co-host. But we will be on the radio tomorrow afternoon from noon to 2 in Central Time. We'll also be here on the YouTube channel, Cheesehead TV. So if you're around lunchtime, you want to hang out, come join me. We'll be talking Packers. Thank you, Thomas. Really appreciate it, man. Roberto, what's going on? I'm concerned the defense lacks playmakers. No Collins, Woodson, Hyde, Tremont type. Top teams get pressure and force turnovers. The defense is vanilla. Agree with that assessment. I think part of the issue, of course, when it comes to vanilla, or what maybe a reason why it's vanilla, is for what you're kind of talking about, and the fact that there is a whole lot of youth, especially on the back end, suddenly, right? Where you spent the summer and the whole offseason maybe designing things and having ideas about what you wanted to do, and then all of a sudden, Stokes isn't back like you thought maybe he would be. Jair clearly is going through a bunch of injury situations, and that really kind of changes, I think, the equation of what is on the menu, so to speak, and what you think these guys can handle. Now, that said, yes, lack of playmakers is evident, especially in the secondary. And I think, Jair is a talented corner, but even on his best days, he's never been a takeaway machine. He's never been a big interception guy. He's been a great PBU guy and a great guy to lock guys down and have quarterbacks forced to go the other side of the field. But, big time turnovers hasn't really been his calling. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, oftentimes safeties can provide that kind of playmaking ability, and the Packers are pretty deficient at safety at the moment when it comes to high-end talent, right? So, yeah, I do not doubt for a moment they would love the addition of somebody who's, a ball-hawking type. But unfortunately, they haven't found one in the building. And probably the best way that's going to happen in Green Bay is through the draft. And that doesn't happen until April. So right now, you got to live with what you got. And that's a lot of youth and not a ton of high-end talent. And that's, again, probably leading to some of these really vanilla calls. They're still frustrating as hell, but I don't doubt that plays a role. Nick Heller, what's up? How much, if any, improvement do you want to see from Love/offense to commit to him beyond this year, or are you willing to have another year developing? I think, look, I mean, it's a legit question, and I understand it. I mean, obviously, I ain't making the decision. So I always tell people, old GM Nagler, man, GM Nagler will run this team into the ground because I would be terrible. I would have no impulse control. I would sign everybody. I would give away huge contracts to guys who had been really good for years, and now they're going to be old. And I'm like, here's for everything you did, and I would kill our cap. You don't want me to be your GM. Now that said, with all that, with my bona fides here, let me tell you, I think Jordan Love is going to be the starter in 2024, day one, regardless. Whether they commit to him long term or not. I do think there's a good chance a deal gets done this offseason. I'll be surprised if it gets done during the season, if only because I think with all the struggles they had on offense and kind of the fire drill aspect of what they were dealing with on the tape, I mean, where somebody's screwing up on every single play for the stretch of 3 or 4 games. It's taken until now where you can have a functioning offense where you can just kind of start to see, all right, what is Jordan? What is he good at? Where is his strengths? Where is his weaknesses? I do think they'll take these next 5, 6 games or so. Maybe they start talking down the stretch here. I would be surprised if something gets done. That doesn't mean it won't or it can't, but I would think they would wait towards the end of the year, probably off season, and then get something done. I really liked I can't remember who it was. Somebody wrote about comparing there's been a lot of talk about the Daniel Jones contract, and I don't think the Packers are ready to do that with Jordan Love. But the Geno Smith contract, that's a possibility. I mean, at least from the team standpoint. Again, I don't know if Jordan Love's people will play ball, but, a 3-year deal, get around 22, 23 mil per year. I think that makes sense from the Packers side. But again, I don't know if Jordan's people will play ball on that. So, I mean, long way to go. Long way to go. Let's see how he plays against the Chargers, But that's my guesswork right now. Andy, what's up? Got my buddy's account info to watch all 22. What's your favorite thing to look for when watching film? Almost always the safety play is the first thing I look at because it's the one kind of area on the field and or position group you can't really tell what the heck is going on when you're watching the broadcast. Now, there are certainly shots on the broadcast end where you can see, well, like sometimes they'll have the wide look or the behind the quarterback look, and you can see where the safeties are at least lined up. But it's very rare that you actually see the rotation, to tell you what coverage of it. Is it cover 3? Is it cover 4? Is it cover 2? Whatever. The safety play is what I almost always start with, because when I rewatch a game, I always rewatch the broadcast first, and then I kind of make notes of which plays I have questions about and what happened here and where was this guy and what did the quarterback see and things like that. But then when I go to the all 22, I look at how the safeties are rotating almost always first on every play, because that's the information you can't usually get on the broadcast copy. That's just me. I'm a nerd. Task, what's up? Wausau blew through all the carry of the G. More, please. What's up, Wausau? I'll have to endeavor to let Gathering Place and our distributors know. Good to hear, man. Glad you enjoyed it. Abdul, what's going on, man? Hey, Aaron, I hope Stokes comes back and balls out. If not, would you pick up his 5th-year option? I'd be surprised if it gets picked up. It's not like he was balling out prior to getting hurt. Especially with how, I don't know if say badly burned they were, but, I don't think you can look at anything. I don't think you can look at the decision to give Darnell Savage his 5th-year option as anything other than a mistake. And I don't think they want to make that mistake again. Look, I do absolutely hope he comes back and balls out and makes the decision tough, right? But I'd be surprised. He's missed a lot of time, man. Michael, what's up? I'm going to Lambeau on Sunday. Life is good. These are the super chats I like to get. Enjoy yourself, man. What's up? Say hi to the gold package for me. Hey, gold package, represent. This is a classic letdown moment for you. This is where, in the past, the gold package has not risen to the occasion. Noon game, AFC West opponent, kind of a sleepy situation. Need you guys to show up and be loud. Don't let me down now. Don't do it. History is replete. Gold package not showing up, sitting on their hands, not making noise. Not this weekend, baby. Need you guys to be loud and proud. Show me. Shove it in my face. Say, Nagler, you're always ragging on the gold package. Look at this. Give it to me. Give it to me, folks. Come on. I need it. William, what's up? So if this is a season of evaluation, what are they doing with DeGuara? I can't imagine he's going to be here in 24. It's a great question, man. I think what people forget is the Tyler Davis injury really kind of set them back at the tight end position, because I think he would have been handling a lot of the stuff that they wanted to do as far as the dirty work when it comes to blocking, especially the inline stuff. And now that he's not there, they've had to throw the 2 rookies in there, and DeGuara, who they clearly favor over Tucker Kraft, though, I think that's a real razor-thin margin. But yeah, at some point, though, if you're a coach, you have to operate on offense, right? And I think they don't trust Tucker Kraft at all, whereas they at least trust Josiah DeGuara to be assignment sound. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, not that he's out there killing it or anything, not he's doing anything you want to write home about, but I think that is their thinking there. Like, at some point, you got to be able to trust that this guy's going to at least go across formation and attempt to make a block. I if it was my druthers, I'd probably favor Kraft. And I think you have seen a little bit more of Kraft here these last couple of weeks, probably for that reason. But, yeah, DeGuara, man, that's disappointing. Pretty disappointing season so far. Paul, what's up? What is the NAG solution to NFL officiating? I don't think there is a silver bullet, but look, I totally agree with what Billy said on Carry the G Radio last week. If we're going to talk about these guys as professionals, they should be professionals and they should be full-time. And I don't think that solves everything or even anything, but it at least starts them down the road to accountability. But when you're a part-time employee having to deal with these Byzantine rules, like, you can see sometimes they just kind of like, well, all right, I think it's this. And then, they take it to New York or whatever, and New York doesn't almost ever, want to come down on these officials. So they usually, as we saw in Pittsburgh, even though everybody with a fucking eyeball and a brain can see that a play is one thing, as it pertains to the rules, should be adjudicated one certain way, the NFL is almost always going to back their refs. And, I just think at some point they have to be full time, and at some point there has to be some measure of accountability. And I don't know, who is in charge of that other than a collective between the referees union, and that they have a union and they're only part-time. Like, make them full-time, make their union part of the conversations when you have the collective bargaining agreement with the players, and get them like in the fold. Because outside of that, they're just, part-timers who are lawyers in the offseason, and they come in and put on their stripes and wave their hands around and say third down, and then they fuck off, make their couple thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands, whatever it is, and they go back to being, Jim Bob at the courthouse. It just seems like such a obvious thing that needs to happen in a league where I understand why they were part-timers, say in the 80s or 70s or whatever. But it's the year 2023, and there are literally billions of dollars invested in this product on the field. And between the part-time officials and the fact that we're using chain gang still, it's like so rinky-dink for such a huge monster operation. I don't know, man. Again, I don't think this solves anything, but I think begins, at least a conversation to get on the road towards fixing some of it, just from a consistency standpoint, and an idea where, okay, this is legit my profession, and I want to take ownership of it, and I want to know these rule books backwards and forwards and how to adjudicate each and every situation, because that's all I spend my time thinking about and working towards, as opposed to, oh, it's August again. I'm gonna put these stripes on and go officiate a few games. It's nonsense. It's total nonsense. Roberto, thanks again, man. Do you ever see a return to the 4-3 defense? Van Ness, Gary, capable. It gets brought up every once in a while. It all depends on who the next coordinator might be. I don't think it's ever going to happen under Joe Barry. But if Joe Barry were to be dismissed this offseason and Matt made a hire, someone obviously probably outside the building, and they are a 4-3 disciple, yeah, it's a possibility. And yes, you can certainly look at the, tick off the personnel groupings and say we need that or this guy should work here or whatever. And, it's funny because every time you try to ask Brian about that kind of stuff, he always talks about how they want these guys to be versatile in lots of different ways for the ability to kind of be malleable and kind of get into different looks and things like that. And, to a point, I get that, and I think it's important. But I also think it also gets down to the kind of disconnect between personnel and the coaching staff, where, at some point, don't you need guys who are really kind of specialized at certain things to, especially in this day and age where everything is a matchup in the NFL and creating matchups or mismatches, as you were, where I just think, could you go to a 4-3? Sure, but then you have to streamline that process for talent acquisition, I would think. I would prefer, but is Brian or is the personnel group going to be taking that path? I doubt it. So, I don't know. It's kind of a punt on your question, I'm sorry, but it really depends on the coordinator and what their background is. And obviously what Matt wants, because he's the head coach and he's the one who sets the program. But is it possible? Yes. Long way to go there, though. Donald, what's up? Would you want a running back blocking them? No. I wouldn't want them covering a wide receiver either. Are there any hybrid defensive end, outside linebacker, cornerbacks available? I don't care. I just want turnovers. I hear you, man. And for those of you who don't know, Donald is referencing the answer from LaFleur yesterday about the outside backers being defensive ends in the nickel. I wouldn't want them covering a wide receiver either. Well, to Matt's point, I mean, I get his frustration in the sense that, the Packers are very much like in the house where they have pretty big dudes playing outside backer, right? And they aren't traditionally covering wide receivers. Hell, they rarely drop guys in coverage from the outside backer spot. I mean, Preston does occasionally, and hell, even sometimes lines up in the slot against the number one wide receiver. Insert your joke here. But, yeah, mostly those guys are playing heavy ends, right? But, yeah, man, I don't know. I just want turnovers, and so do they. But At some point, you are who you are. We're 10 games into this, right? I don't see much changing. And like if there were hybrid players available that were turnover machines, I'm pretty sure they're going to be on a roster somewhere. It's not. It's very rare that those types of players just come available post trade deadline. Like now, who knows? We'll see. Maybe they find someone. Maybe Rochelle gets out there in the mix, and all of a sudden he's a ball hawk, and we just didn't know it. Much like Rasul sitting there and then just exploding on the scene. I mean, I'm not counting on it, but you never know. Ed, what's up? Is there a card we're supposed to sign to thank the Bills for making us feel better about our loss? I mean, I will say this. I will say, look at the Broncos' last 3 games, ladies and gentlemen. Of the last 3 quarterbacks who faced the Broncos, who looked the best? I would posit it was Jordan Love. Sure, we'll get the card to you, Ed. Mr. Englewood, what's up? How have your 2 number 1 picks from Georgia played thus far? Of your 2, I think Wyatt has had a decent year. I think he's pretty damn undisciplined at times, and that's causing them problems, especially against the run. But you do see the promise, and you do see improvement. You don't see flashy plays. You don't see splash plays, and I think that's something that needs to improve and or at least start to show up a little bit. I think Walker was having a hell of a year before he got hurt. I know there are people who talk about the fact that he's making tackles downfield. I would posit, well, it's hard to make those tackles at the line of scrimmage when there's only 2 defensive tackles. I'm not going to say 2 down linemen anymore because Matt has now made that like persona non grata. Although, may I just point this out? Can I just point something out? If we're going to play semantics, LaFleur, all right. So, your outside backers are defensive ends. Okay, and you bristled because Wildy said 2 down linemen. Well, you want to get semantic? Do those outside backers have their hands in the dirt? No. Oh, are they standing up? Yes. Oh, so how many linemen are down? 2! All right. But your defensive tackles are getting pushed around, getting double teamed. So the running back now has free reign into the defensive backfield. Well, yeah, your linebacker is going to be making tackles downfield. Unless you're run blitzing, which the Packers almost never do. Right? So, yeah, I thought Quay Walker was having a really good year. And then he got hurt, got that groin injury. But yeah, I like both picks. I think there's still a lot of untapped potential there. Hell, I mean, Quay Walker should have 3 interceptions at this point. He only has 1, but he's dropped 2. Hell, he's actually dropped 3, I think, if I remember now. I mean, he should have 4 picks, right? He's in position to make these plays. He's just got to close. But yeah, I think both of those guys have played well for the most part. I think Quay has played better, but Wyatt's a good player. He just needs a lot more consistency. Trey Tizzy, what's up? Trade Love for Sam Howell. Just kidding. I have faith in Love. We just need our receivers to help him out. Way too many drops. There have been drops, certainly against like Minnesota, but I thought they were much better this past week. They have been these past 2 weeks, I think. Howell's fun to watch. I've said this a couple times on Twitter. He definitely reminds me of young Favre. I mean, you look at a guy play style wise on the field. He's a young Favre. Like, there is no throw he thinks he can't make. He keeps plays alive with his legs and then makes really questionable decisions while he's running. And he's fun as hell to watch. I really like watching Howell play. John, what's up? This young offense gets this year and next year under their belts with some additions to talent through drafting and free agency. Could be cooking come 24-25. That's the dream, John, and that's obviously the plan, right? Now, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And getting punched in the mouth when it comes to team building is losing a bunch. It's hard to stay the course when you don't see results. And you don't start, backing up what your process is. And right now, they're going through it when it comes to trying to get some wins. Now, to your point, I do believe that is the plan, and that is what is going to transpire. I think they will be given throughout 2024 with this kind of group, coaching staff, players, what have you, to try and grow into what looks like, a burgeoning contender. But boy, is there a long way to go. There's a long way to go. All right, everybody, I got to get going. I can't thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV, social channels, Patreon members, Carry the G Club members, don't forget, we got happy hour at the top of the hour. I'll see you all there. Information is on your respective pages. For the rest of you, please hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family, Cheesehead TV. We are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack, go.